Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
Welcome back to Projections, where this week we're going to talk about 2 games in VR. That's not VR, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's old school.
It's old school VR. And old school is the theme of the first game we're going to talk about. Kind of a sleeper hit. It's been in early development. It's called Pixel Ripped, 1989.
I hope it's a hit. I have no idea if this game is a hit or not. But this game took me by huge surprise. Like, there was a little bit of a buzz about this. They were pushing it on the stores. They're saying, coming soon, Pixel Ripped. And there was like a weird demo a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember seeing this, but like you were in a classroom and you had a Game Boy in your hands. Well, this was a game that was 4 years in development. And it's phenomenal. I mean, it's really, really good. It went on sale for $20. Now I think it's actually $25, but it's worth it. I highly recommend it. It is a game within a game within a game. You, at the very lowest level, you play as a pixel art character.
You're a sprite.
Whose name is Dot. And you're in a Game Boy world. It is low res, it is gray, and it's pixelated, and it's 3D. And you're immersed in this space. And the world is under attack by like the Goblin King or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And this wizard inside that world, in order to save the pixel world, has to transport you out of the game and like into the mind of a young girl in a classroom.
That's so many layers to it.
Who is playing the hottest new game on the market, Pixel Ripped 1989.
Whoa.
And so you then become a girl who's in the real world playing a Game Boy in school.
Or Game Boy equivalent.
Exactly. With the world's worst teacher, like up there trying to maintain order, and everyone is just doing their own thing, listening to their Walkman with, actual like wired headphones and like the old school things.
The Game Pro magazine equivalents on the table.
There's a kid over here who has built like a Back to the Future thing in his desk, and you can't play the game and be caught. So you're constantly trying to distract the teacher by using this blow dart thing. You shoot things in the world, and it causes these chain reactions to happen that distract the teacher, allow you to play the game. At the beginning of the actual game, you are in this world, and all the other kids are around you because you are the world's, like, you're the class's best gamer.
It's so many levels, which is the interesting thing, because it is visually a combination of a rendered 3D environment. It looks like your standard like rendered polygons with textures inside the classroom, mm-hmm. But what VR allows is that VR lets you embody an elementary school student. Mm-hmm. The world is scaled for you.
Right. And like we saw in Duck Season, they played with that too. As you're a little boy sitting in the living room, everything's huge because to a little boy it is. And so this makes you feel like that in the classroom where Elmer's glue is humongous and you've got books and the desk and the whole world around you is just large.
And I think Duck Season is a perfect comparison to this game because both of these games are very reverent of the 80s and classic home console games. This one, very specifically, handheld consoles. Whereas in Duck Season, you were teleported inside what was essentially a Nintendo Entertainment System, an NES equivalent, Duck Hunt. Here, you're not teleported inside the game as much as the game is brought into this world,
right.
Because you're holding the Game Boy.
Right.
You're looking at the screen through your VR goggles while there's still another world out there.
Yes.
So it brings you back, and because you have track control, this game is also made for PSVR, so you have the track DualShock controller. You can hide the game, you can look at it, you can peer it. The fact that you're supposed to play a side scroller, they made a full platformer, mm-hmm. a pixelated, sprite-based platform, Mario-like game.
Right, or almost Sonic, because like you become low res when you get hit. You become a single pixel. As you pick up coins, you become higher resolution. And so you can't like get hit while you're a single dot. You have to pick up coins in order to survive being hit.
You're playing that game on a virtual console,
yeah.
At the same time as playing this meta game of trying to keep the teacher distracted.
Right.
That added that level of complexity where I've never seen that before.
And then like you'll win a level, and without spoiling anything, it goes another level deeper. Like the game enters the real world in the classroom, and it just gets stranger and stranger. There's just like irreverent Easter eggs everywhere. As you're distracting the teacher, you can shoot your darts at various things that are sparkling around the classroom. One of them is what will the future look like on the board, which is a bunch of art projects. If you shoot that, suddenly everybody in the classroom is wearing VR headsets, and you're wearing a VR headset in the game where you're wearing a VR headset. But it's more like an augmented reality, because when you look through this headset, you see the classroom in a completely different light.
Yeah.
And all of these distractions are entertaining enough that you almost have trouble playing the game you're supposed to be playing because they're entertaining. You know, at one point there's a TV that's playing a very boring science program about electronics. If you shoot that, it switches to like an MTV Max Headroom style television commercial for Pixel Ripped 1989, wherein the advertiser is letting you know about this Easter egg. And it's an actual Easter egg that you can do in that level if you look down at your device and play it, and you can find this hidden cartridge.
This is why I think this game, in its love for the 80s, its love for classic video game and arcade culture, it outdoes Ready Player One, because it really, the problem is you're not watching.
You mean the movie?
The movie,
yeah.
Because you are a part of it. You are experiencing this 2018 interpretation
right.
of how we remember the Game Boy, our classic arcade machines, plugging in the game cartridge into the TV and playing a low-res version of that game, and what it was like to go from grayscale to full color. And then it goes, like you said, that step beyond, where the gameplay mechanics that you've mastered in your little Game Boy then apply to the game in the real world.
Yeah.
In this meta level.
It seems like they had a lot of fun developing this. While there is a limited budget, the animations served their purpose. Like, it reminded me a little bit of the first Tony Hawk game, where the graphics were okay enough, but the gameplay was so novel and interesting that it was fine. Like, it was good enough.
And what I love also is that they didn't dumb down that side scroller. They had to make many games for this.
Yeah.
Not only was it that meta level of the teacher in the classroom, in the school, but also they made platformers. And they made platformers in the spirit of Ghouls and Goblins, in the spirit of Mega Man, in the spirit of a Mario and a Sonic, and they actually play well.
Oh yeah, they're a ton of fun. And it's interesting that they play with the fact that you're a girl as well. They reference this evil in-game demon that is sort of game hopping, sort of like Wreck-It Ralph in a way. And it hops into a game that happens to be your player's favorite game, and you have a crush on the in-game protagonist. And it's just funny. It's just funny, and it made me laugh, and I feel like it breaks new ground in some interesting ways.
The game's also not super easy. There's a lot of things to explore, but it actually requires good platform mechanics to beat. Pattern recognition, a lot of repetition to beat the bosses, find the weak spots. And in the end, it's only 4 levels. It'll take you about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
But there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. I mean, if you take your time, I bet there's some replayability. I was watching a playthrough to refresh my memory just a few moments ago, and I was seeing things that I didn't catch.
Yeah. Again, it's Pixel Ripped 1989. It's one of our highest recommendations for what a surprise. Not only because we love the 80s and we love classic arcade culture, but because of what this game does with VR to show off.
Right, yeah. And this reeks of indie spirit, and this is the opposite of the big budget, designed by committee kind of game. And I would love to reward these kind of developers.
The other game I want to talk about is a follow-up. It's an add-on to an existing VR game that came out last year now, Star Trek Bridge Crew from Ubisoft. Now, PlayStation VR gamers have had this DLC for a while. This is, of course, the next generation, the TNG add-on. But for Rift and Vive users, we now can sit on the bridge of the USS Enterprise 1701D.
As fans of Star Trek, who always wanted the holodeck, that's sort of what we were hoping for in VR. So it goes without saying that this is a required purchase on our part, and we were going to play this. So Norman, Kishore, and I have spent a couple nights in there. The missions scale in difficulty. Some are relatively easy, but you get to the master mission, which is it's the Borg mission, which you would hope is difficult. We have yet to beat it.
Yeah.
It is exceptionally hard, and we've given it a couple tries. We're going to try again tonight.
And they did some tweaks to this DLC from the gameplay of the first game. You haven't played Bridge Crew. It's up to 4 players. You all inhabit a spot on the bridge, whether it's the tactical station, the op station navigation, or someone has to be the captain. It's all about verbal communication. This is a teamwork game where everyone's playing a series of mini games, but also playing out the role of being on a starship.
It's funny how this game lends itself to role-playing, even light role-playing, more so than anything else we've played. For whatever reason, like me saying, "I captain," and you calling me ensign if you're the captain, that just seems like the most efficient way to actually succeed at the game.
You have your shorthand you develop, and the best shorthand to use is what you know from the TV show.
Exactly.
Make it so. Engage. Power. Red alert.
Right.
Shields up, shields down. Warp the convoy in. And they've improved some of the stations. So because the UI is now LCAR style, microcudograms from Star Trek Next Generation, that production design, the op station now has a more in-depth minigame. It's kind of like FTL. You're moving little crew people around your ship to repair the different stations, whether it's your scanners or your shields or your phasers or photon torpedoes. And the one criticism I would have is that I don't think it goes far enough for that roguelike. I would love a roguelike aspect of this game where you're trying to complete the goal, and I guess the Borg mission, we have died, so in that sense, it's kind of like a roguelike. But I don't feel like it takes advantage of all the min-maxing abilities that we can do.
Oh, God!
That's bad. That's bad.
Very bad.
Warping in. Energizing. Where can we go?
Get out of here. Go.
Anywhere, anywhere.
Go.
Warp engines offline.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Oh.
I would love for this game to be the one we want. And I feel like it's going to be years before we get that.
An MMO.
I want to explore the ship. I mean, you can't even stand up in this game. You can't explore the bridge, let alone engineering. And I want to take a turbolift down to Deck 7, which got blown away by the Borg, and have to put the force fields up in order to save the crew that are down there. I want to be able to walk around. I want to go on missions that are, I feel like I'm a part of a larger ship, maybe even a larger space of other ships.
Right.
But this is what we have right now. And I get it, there's a limited budget because there aren't enough headsets out there in the early days of VR. But it's a taste of what that would be. And they do a pretty good job of embracing the Star Trek feeling with the limited budget that they had.
Like a lot of these theme games that we've played in VR, the more we lean into, we bring as much to the game as the game opens up to us. The game has all the mechanics and the systems in place. But if you're playing with someone who's not into it, then you're not going to have as much fun as if you're playing with friends who all love Next Generation, who all love Star Trek, and who can all role play a little bit. That's really the value. This is kind of like that D&D kit that they're giving you, and you got to play with some good players.
Yeah, I don't know if that Borg mission is going to be beatable for us or not. We are so close.
We're very close.
It's extremely difficult, and that's one issue is that you will replay this mission. Maybe you'll replay some of the other missions. And they don't change that much. Like the environment does, the systems you warp into, where the pirate is and where the Borg shows up, slightly different. But the general beats of the mission stay about the same. So the captain, his or her role becomes a little less essential because all the different substations know what to do.
The variability in the mission. So I guess they've got the systems of the ship right, and maybe there could be some increased complexity there, but the mission generation system, I feel like, could be improved. More scripting, but that's a lot of legwork, a lot of writing, and hopefully this game becomes successful enough that they'll have the resources to put out more of those, because I think they have something here. Once we beat that Borg mission, I don't know if we're having a reason to go back, but please give us a reason to go back aboard the Enterprise. So there you have it. Pixel Ripped 1989 and Bridge Crew Next Generation DLC are the games we're talking about this week. We'll be talking about more games next week. If you have recommendations for games we should check out in VR, please post them in the comments below. Other than that, we'll see you next time.
Live long and prosper.